Today we're going to be talking about drugs, statins in particular. Thanks to the FDA's OpenFDA API, we can get access to nearly unlimited information on pharmaceuticals and food, but also things like medical devices. The FDA has pretty massive databases from which you can extract data. Heck, if you just want to download full data sets, you can even do that. They're pretty massive. The API is pretty straightforward, and here's a glimpse of what you get. You can see the drug data here, the junk food data here, and so on. This is just a sliver of what you can do. This video is going to be more of a demonstration to get you up and running and less of a detailed tutorial. I decided to do it this way because the detailed instructions and resources on the FDA website are excellent. There just aren't any specific coding examples for running the code, so that's why I want to do it this way. I'm going to switch it up today, and I'm going to do a data extraction for adverse events for some statins. I'm going to do it in Python and R this time, though, so I'm going to show you both. It's essentially the same code. So with that, enough talk, let's just get started. All right, we're going to start off here with Python. All right, so I'm going to be working with a couple modules here. So I'm going to use pip to go ahead and make sure they're installed. I know I already have them, but pip install pandas and requests. If you're in Linux or Mac, process is pretty similar. You're going to probably want to use pip. So looks like I already have it. We're good there. Now I want to create a Python file in the directory that I want to work in. So I'm just going to go save as here. Just call this adverse event data. Now I marked up just about every single line here, so I don't have to spend a ton of time in this video. I can make it short and just get right to the point. If you have questions though, just let me know. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to make a request to the FDA API. We're going to get some data on adverse events for these statins right here, and then we're going to export it to a data set. We have to parse through a JSON data set to do this, but it's actually not that bad. I did a lot of the work right here. Obviously, there's way more than that, but that's totally fine. So we're specifically working with adverse events, and if you want to get a feel for how the data set works, you can just run a query right here on the website. You can see the URL right there, and it'll generate one specific case, and you can see how the structure all works here. So if you're not familiar with JSON or the structure, I highly recommend this. It makes it a lot easier. Now, you probably noticed that I have some dates in here, and it's only a 5-day span, but even in that 5-day span, I'm going to probably get about 500, 600 results maybe, and so this is just a way to limit how many results I get. Of course, you can change this to whatever you want if you want to make this, much longer, but that's the reason I'm doing that right here. I want a more targeted data set, and of course, this is the JSON that we care about. This is for the events. There are a bunch of other ones that you could parse through. This is just for the adverse events, though. You might notice in the URL that we're crafting, it says limit equals 100. Don't worry about that. Think of that as like 100 results on a page, and we'll go to the next page to get the next 100 results and so on. We'll get to pagination in a second, but don't worry. Skipping the URL is going to be 0, but we'll get to that in a little bit too. Okay, so with 200 requests, that means it was successful. So basically, if we get a 200, we're going to return with a JSON data set. Otherwise, we're going to return with nothing. We want this to run even if there is nothing. Otherwise, we're going to get an error, and then we got to redo the code. We don't want to do that. This is our list of statins right here. Okay, pretty simple. You want to change this to like aspirin, ibuprofen, you can do whatever you want. We're just going to get adverse events for all of these. Okay? This right here, this is just an empty list that all of this stuff right here is going to get thrown in, and it's eventually going to go to our data frame right here. All right, so we're going to loop right here. Statin for statin, so statin is this, and then later it's this, and so on. It's going to loop through all of these. One thing that can trip people up a little bit is, you notice how there's a skip 0 right here and a skip right here also, but this one says 100. Now basically what is happening here is we have a pagination, so we're going to go through like page 1 of 100 results, and then page 2 and page 3, all the way until we get to the end of our results. This is just a way to not overwhelm the server, and we're doing in increments here. All right, so when skip is set for 0 right here, it means we're going to start at the very beginning of the data set. So that's to get our first 100 results. So once we get those first 100 results, this here says, okay, go to 101 all the way to 200 and get those. And then skip 100 to 200 and get 201 to 300 and so on. So what we're doing is we're just not duplicating our work here. And what's going on right here is it's just going to keep going until it gets no more data at all. Pretty simple. So if we have 500 results, once we get to 500, bam, it stops. It's done. It's going to append all the data to this right here, this list. Okay? And then the list is going to go to this data frame right here, this pandas data frame. And then we're just going to put the data frame to Excel. And that's pretty much it. Now these right here, this is parsing that JSON data right there. These are just a few examples. These seem like the most important things to me. Of course, as you saw, there are way more data that you can get than this, but again, this is just what I want, and that's from that results nest right there. So if you're feeling good, go ahead and run it, and let's see what it looks like. Okay, this is the data set that it exported right here. Take a look. All right, so we have the reaction right there. We have the drug. Looks pretty good. Looks like these were all exported as text. That doesn't really bother me. If it bothers you, you can fix that in Python, or you can really fix it in Excel too, either way, but it doesn't really bother me there. All right, let's go ahead and do this in R. So you have R and RStudio installed. And there's a bunch of different ways you can do this. The code is going to be essentially the same though. Maybe a few minor exceptions, but you'll see. So I'm just going to go to new project here. Like I said, you don't have to do it this way. I'm just going to put an existing directory. Okay, and this is the folder I was working with my Python code. All right, so we have our working directory. Let's do new file, our script. And I'm going to throw in this code here, and this is going to be in the video description along with everything else, so don't worry. Now you want to make sure you have these installed. Pretty simple. Highlight these, run it, make sure you have them. I already have them, so I'm not going to fuss with that, but I want you to see that. So yeah, it's very similar as you can see here. So HTTR, that's going to be like requests in Python. We have our JSON link here to work with our JSON data. dplyr is like the sister or brother to pandas. And this here, XLSX, that's going to be working with our Excel data. That's going to process all that right down there. Okay. So again, we're going to start with this function right here. This is our statement right here. We have the event JSON data set. Okay. We're going to be searching for adverse events again. So we're going to loop through these drugs, these statins, have our date range right there and right there. Okay. We have the skip and so on. So again, we want to get a 200 response, and if we do, that means it's good. We're going to get the JSON object. Otherwise, it's going to be null. It's going to give us nothing. And again, we want this so it doesn't stop working. We want the script to run all the way through, okay? And this is our statin list right there. Data frame, just like before. And again, we're going through each statin. We're doing the same thing that we already did. So you can see right there. These are the things that we're parsing, JSON data. And then we just export it right here. So basically the same thing. Okay, we have the skip as 0 here, skip as 100 here again. So we get the first 100, and then we go on the next 100, and so on all the way until we're done. So yeah, you can see it's very similar. So yeah, you don't even have to do this in Python and R. You can do this in so many different languages. So I'm going to hit Control and A. I'm going to highlight everything here. I'm going to run this. The only difference that you can really notice at the bottom here is this says _R. I want to make it clear that that's the export of R, not Python. So let's run it. All right, let's go ahead and see what the export looks like. Hopefully just as good as Python. And again, you can see how these are stored as text. Not a huge deal. In R, you can adjust for that too. You can turn them into numbers if you want to. And you can also just fix it in Excel if you want, whatever. Okay, we're getting the same number of results, 599. So that looks good. But anyway, yeah, you can see it's not that bad. You can play around with this in R and Python. You can do other languages as well. So much you can do. And we're just scratching the surface here. So if you'd like to see another video with more detailed analysis or data extraction, just let me know. Happy to do that. I just want to do what's useful for you guys. All right, that's going to wrap it up. I hope you found the video useful. If you did, make sure to like, subscribe, comment, and all that. In the meantime, I'll catch you all later. Take care.